here it is. Now I filed lightly along the top and bottom part of the handle just to take off any sharp edges. I'm not going to polish the whole knife because of the type of knife that it is. I want to leave all the forge marks in it. So this has been ground down, filed, and given a light sanding. But it's not sharp at this point. So the next step will be to put it back in the forge and bend the tail around to form the handle. When that's done, we'll harden it in the forge, quench it in oil, and then temper it. We're in the home stretch here, so let's get started on that. Here is the knife so far. This is the basic shape. Now I need to heat at least the blade part to non-magnetic and then plunge it into oil to harden it. So that's what I'm going to do now. So heating the steel to non-magnetic and then quenching it in oil makes it super hard. And that's what we want right now. And the way to test this is to take a file and run it along the edge. And if the file doesn't bite into it, just skates over it, then it's super hard and I've done my job. So now I'm going to clean it with a little soap and water because the next step that I'm going to do is to temper it. And for that I like to put it in the oven. So I want to clean off as much of this oil as I can. And this is just a little water with dish liquid in it. So I'm going to temper the knife in the kitchen oven set at 375 degrees, and I'll leave it in for 50 minutes before I take it out and let it cool to room temperature. I'll repeat this process 3 times. If you've seen my videos on making gouges and chisels, the process is very similar to the one I used in that, except the temperature and times are a little different. So I already have the oven preheated. So this is the third and final time that I'm taking it out of the oven. And while it's still hot, because I'm going to leave most of the knife as it came out of the forge, I'm just going to rub a little wax into it while it's hot. That'll just help to protect the steel a little bit. It's an old blacksmith's trick I read about somewhere. Trying not to get it on the blade itself. Now I'll just let it cool to room temperature. So, here's the finished knife. Now, I left the bend in the blade that you get when you taper a knife in this direction, because I think it feeds into the swoop of the handle nicely. And this little flattened part in the curve at the end acts as a guard, so your fingers don't slip up onto the sharp part of the knife when you're using it. So it's a very well thought out design. Now, I didn't try to polish the sharp part of the blade too much because I left the rest of it with that forged patina. All in all, I like the way that it came out, and I'm looking forward to making another one. Now, you can do all sorts of things with these. You can put a twist in the handle, and there are all sorts of things that you can do to customize it, but this was the first time I ever made a knife like this, so I kept it fairly simple. Now, I have made some other knives. I make 2 or 3 knives a year. This is a rather large camp knife that I made for a friend of mine, and this one has buffalo horn scales, and I poured pewter on the end of the pommel here and over here by the guard, and I put a little bit of fancy file work in the blade where the handle is. I also made the sheath that goes with it, fitted sheath that goes with it. And the knife that I like to carry when I'm in the woods is actually the first knife that I ever made, and that's this one here. And this has a through tang that's pinned over on the end that holds the whole handle together. There's a couple of brass washers in there, and the handle is actually made from a piece of apple from a tree that grows in my yard. And again, I put a little bit of fancy file work just up near the end of the blade. If you like my videos, please subscribe, and as always, thank you for watching.